Welcome to In It to Win It. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. We are back at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference with Warren Irwin, Rosseau Asset Management. Warren, thank you for coming back on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Steve.
Yes, 2 years ago, we were here, and I interviewed you for the first time, and I got to say, you called it. Uranium at the time was around $45, $50 a pound, and you were on a panel of a lot of people that were basically saying uranium was going to the moon. And you had a bit of a cautionary tale. And you said, okay, there is, uranium right now, we'll call it $50 a pound. And, for the average investor, if you buy into the physical fund, ride it up to 80, you feel like you get to participate in the market and make a little money in the process. But, betting on some of these penny dreadfuls, as Rick calls them, might not be for everyone. And that's pretty much exactly what's happened. We had a little bit of an overshoot, but right now we've settled down around 80. That's around where the term markets are. What do you see now here, almost exactly 2 years later? What are your views?
Yeah, well, what I'm seeing is, unlike the super bulls were saying, there always seems to be the product coming to market to fill the gap. And what's concerning to me about the uranium market in here is at $80, or where are we at? 80, we're 73, 74?
73 to 75.
These kind of levels, like pretty much every uranium project I know globally is economic. And as far as the run we've had here, when you add up the Sprott Uranium Trust with the Yellow Cake, and then you're starting to see, companies like Cap and all big speculators, they've probably taken about 120, I'm winging it here, 120 million pounds out of the market in the last few years.
Yeah.
And despite we know the consumption numbers went around 180. So they've taken 2/3 of 1 year's demand of uranium off the market. The speculators have. And despite that, can you imagine if they did that with the copper market, where the copper market would be? Well, they did it with the uranium market. And here we are, $73. Is that the best you could do when you try and corner the market by taking 2/3 of the year's consumption off the market? So there's heavy manipulation of the uranium market. And we are at a level now where, okay, Rick Rule said it years ago, 75 is roughly where projects are economic. And all the projects I see are economic at these levels. So can you imagine, again, let's look at the copper market. If we had a price of copper today where every copper mine in the world, every copper project in the world would be economic, would that be a bullish sign or a bearish sign? So,
right.
So the red lights are flashing here. We know that uranium's the future. We know nuclear power is the future. I'm not against any of that, but pretty much every project that has a pulse is moving forward. So the supply is coming at us, and it's just a matter of whether this deficit, wherever these supplies are coming from, continue to meet the deficit until projects like NextGen get online and a host of other ones that are gradually making it to market. But everything's moving towards production. And so we're gonna have enough uranium around, that's for sure.
Okay, what would you say to the term market? So I'm talking with Justin Yoon. It looks like the term market is going out 12 months or longer. Spot market is 12 months or less. Term market right now, as he sees it, is in the low 80s. So if we're in spot market 73 to 75, term market, we'll call it 82, 83. Do you see that gap getting filled in the next 12 months, or how do you see that?
I really don't have a strong view on that. Obviously, there are a number of people who love to reduce the risk by terming things out. I don't know how that's going to unfold going forward here. It's going to be kind of tricky to see. The real question is really in the near term or the next few years until this production starts hitting the market to satisfy the demand. The big question has always been, as I've mentioned many for the last number of years, is where is this excess supply coming from?
Yeah.
And it just seems to be showing up continually on the market. It's not destroying the market, but it's definitely meeting the needs. So nobody knows how much it is. Nobody knows where it's coming from. And it just seems to be showing up. So, and then that'll be filling the market void until some of these new projects start hitting the market, but it'll take a while for them to hit the market.
Okay. What's your suspicion? Is it China? Is it, what do you think?
I really have no idea. No, there's, as you know, uranium's very, very secretive just due to the nuclear weapons aspects of it. So there's little pods of uranium all around the world. People have stockpile here, it's a little bit stockpile there, and occasionally it hits a target where they say, listen, why are we hanging on to all this uranium? Let's hit the market with it. So it seems to be, we know the gap when you're saying 30 million pounds, 40 million pounds, deficit, it's been met for the last number of years. Where's it coming from?
They're getting it from somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah. And nobody can articulate where it is. I don't know where it's coming from. I've had my buddies I mentioned years ago, and I got beat up pretty bad for it, that there's significant amount still floating around. And it seems to be filling the gap. So we'll see what happens. I can't predict the future with respect to where this additional inventory is hitting the market again. But all I know is we got two things. There's been some significant speculation in the market already with roughly 120 million pounds being yanked out of the market.
Yeah.
We've got a price now where most projects I know, virtually all of them, are economic at these levels. So is that a bullish or a bearish sign? And then as far as nuclear reactors, as we all know, what's quicker to build, a nuclear reactor or a new mine? I'm not sure. Probably about the same, right? So it's a race. And then, there's so many moving parts. Can I predict all those moving parts? No. But there are definitely some warning signs, in my opinion, indicating, we're fairly valued here for a while, and there could be some downside risk if something happens. So, but anyways, I'm super bullish on nuclear energy. I think it's the future, and I think long term we'll have tons of supply. There's lots of uranium out there. It'll eventually hit the market. So the question is, between now and when the uranium hits the market, to satisfy all this demand, will there be a supply crunch? And I don't know that. I don't think anybody knows that answer.
Okay, all right. Tell us about NextGen. What's going on with NextGen? Last time we talked 2 years ago, that was your highest conviction uranium bet. I got to say, that one played out pretty well. I wish I had bet it. I didn't. But yeah, tell us about NextGen.
Oh, I did a Money of Mine podcast probably 3 or 4 months ago, where I sort of summarized my thoughts on it. I do have concerns about NextGen. It's got a great level now here at $10. My concerns are when nutty things start happening. We've got a mine to build, and it should be focused on building the mine. Instead, there seems to be Vancouver Canucks and Formula One and a whole bunch of distractions, which for me, just as a long-term investor in the sector and a purist, let's get back to the basics. Let's build a mine. You guys have never built a mine before. You're building an underground uranium mine, high grade, not the easiest things in the world to build. So why don't we just stay focused on that, get the mine built? And the other thing that is a bit of a red flag too with NextGen is just the whole Lassonde curve. It's not my view on it. It's just that at times investors get tired of companies as they're spending a number of years just building a mine. And in those times, there's never been a mine build that I've ever seen that doesn't have a bit of a hiccup along the way. So we're going to get into a time where it's going to be boring for investors, but who knows? There might be some M&A activity. I think with the Canadian government's bit of a nationalism, I'm not sure how that's going to play out, whether they'll just let Cameco buy it. And then, of course, if I was Cameco, I'd be waiting until they had a hiccup in their build, and then I'd step in. And but, who knows? Would they let a Rio Tinto or BHP step up and pick up? Do Rio Tinto and BHP have a desire to own a world-class uranium deposit? I don't know, but it's a fantastic deposit. I'm concerned they're just getting a little off focus, and they need to focus on the task at hand. And again, when you are on the task at hand, there is a Lassonde curve where investors kind of get bored during the build process. So, and the other thing too is NextGen along with Cameco have been the two Western vehicles for speculation, right?
Yeah.
So when the speculators start saying, I've been sitting in this uranium trade quite a number of years, nothing's happening. I think I'm going to move on to something shinier and nicer.
Yeah.
That's a stock that's going to hit along with Cameco, and people will just be moving out of the liquid stuff and just getting on to something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You brought it up. I was going to, if you didn't, about the Formula One and the hockey. I could question how many uranium investors are at a hockey game, but it sounds like you do too.
Well, the first time I saw the NextGen logo on the Vancouver Canucks, I thought it was a NextGen hearing aid company. Go, wow, this is a NextGen hearing aid company. They must be doing really well to sponsor the Canucks. But to sponsor the Canucks for a commodity producer,
yeah.
I don't think that Formula One's off the charts crazy.
Yeah.
But I think what they did with the Saskatchewan football team,
Mhm.
fabulous, incredible idea. Just
Oh, I didn't hear about this.
oh yeah, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders or whatever they call them. Yeah, they're sponsored by NextGen, which is awesome. Hometown team, it's fantastic. But they got a little carried away with the Formula One and the Canucks. I hope. Just my view. Russ, you can make your own decisions.
Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing that you have. Is that we are kind of at the top of that first part of the Lassonde curve, and maybe I'll be able to catch it on the second wave. But yeah, mining is hard, and building a mine, at least in my view, is even harder. And we might be able to catch another little wave on next.
Yeah, it'll be one to watch. If there are some hiccups in the mine build, I've seen this before. That's the time to load up, and yeah, look for it. There could be a real buy opportunity here over the next few years for NextGen. It's an amazing project, and yeah, it'll be one to watch for sure.
Okay. Any other projects? Any other companies that you're thinking about looking at?
Yeah, there's a few. One of them I can think of as a private silver situation I'm involved in.
Okay.
I've done some really neat work with again a private oil company. I'm going to be looking at what John Brzezinski's doing here with his Cisco Mining. Also, New England version. Yeah, I'm going to be meeting with them later today.
Nice.
And then I'm also looking at this new copper project in northern Borneo, run by a friend of mine. Super duper high grade copper, like 50-60% high grade copper outcropping. So there's some interesting projects out there to look at, and I'm just rolling out my sleeves and taking a peek at them. Also, I'm looking at I've got some longer term holdings where we made discoveries and we're now selling them, which would be Solgold, one of the top undeveloped copper projects in the world. The management team's working on getting that sold. Also, Colonial Coal, an amazing MetCoal project.
Yeah, Colonial.
Yeah, and the M&A market for MetCoal super hot, so that hopefully that'll get sold this year. So I'm looking at rolling out of some of my more senior names into much more interesting juniors, new copper discoveries, new gold situations, silver situations, whatever's out there that's exceptional.
Okay, you brought up MetCoal, so I'll be back on that. What are your thoughts on MetCoal? We've had a bit of a sell-off, I think, just maybe possibly incoming recession. Is that what are your thoughts there?
Well, let's contrast MetCoal with uranium.
Okay.
Has anybody heard of anybody raising money in the MetCoal market to find more MetCoal? Like zero. Okay. We're talking for what? A decade?
Yeah.
Nobody's looking for MetCoal. Demand's not slowing down. India's looking at cranking up their steel production. We'll need a ton more MetCoal. And that's sort of the contrast between the two, where nobody knows about MetCoal, nobody cares about MetCoal, nobody's funding MetCoal, nobody's looking for MetCoal.
Yeah.
Yet demand just keeps growing. Yeah. So that's an example there. And the M&A cycle in MetCoal, as you know, Teck just sold their MetCoal assets.
Yeah.
Anglo just sold their MetCoal assets to the BHP.
Or not TU. Peabody.
Yeah, Peabody, and then Conuma in Canada, they sold the northeastern coal assets to Conuma. What's fascinating there is the rumor on the street is there was 40 NDA signed for their MetCoal assets in Australia alone.
Huh.
There's lots of people looking for MetCoal. The Indians have been trying to get involved all the way through. They're the ones that are most exposed. They've got big needs for MetCoal going forward, and they don't want to be beholden to the current producers who will definitely make them pay the highest possible price.
Okay. Do you follow AMR at all? Alpha Metallurgical Resources?
No, I don't. It's in the U.S. No, I don't. It's too blue chip for me. Too big.
Too big. Okay. How about Peabody? You mentioned their acquisition.
Well, there's some speculation of obviously they got the winner's curse. They paid more than everybody else, so they may have overpaid. That's certainly Glencore has been commented publicly saying that. So, I just think MetCoal is a great place to be, and the reason I love it is everybody else hates it. Whereas, again, uranium, everybody loves it, and I'm not super excited about it. So that's you got to be a little bit of a contrarian. But MetCoal, the demand will be there. There's no green coal coming. There's no this green hydrogen world. It's not happening. It'll be many, many decades. Can you imagine if you're building a bridge and you go, well, hey, let's build this bridge. There's this brand new steel made out of green hydrogen. I'm sure it'll work. Like we've been making steel for the last century plus, the same way. And as we transition to using some of the new techniques, and I kind of think that we should probably be a little more cautious on the transition and not kind of rush it through, is my guess. And it was just sort of my thoughts.
Okay. All right. This is a channel full of contrarians. So what you said about MetCoal is what I call catnip to them. Do you see any other hated commodities right now like you do, Mac?
Well, nickel.
Oh, okay.
Nickel, right? Yeah, as nickel's hated because the Indonesians are going to be producing so much nickel, the world will be choking on it, right? So that's one of them that's super hated. So, who knows? I don't know how that's going to turn around. Maybe the pressures globally on the Chinese for what they're doing in Indonesia, because it's just terrible. You've probably seen the video. Oh yeah, they're destroying they're destroying Indonesia. So how long can that continue? Will the Indonesians step up and slow things down? I don't know.
Okay,
but I'm a huge fan of good solid Western based high quality nickel sulfide. It's not the nickel laterites that they're mining in Indonesia. So I love nickel sulfide, and everybody hates nickel sulfide. So that's another one.
That's another one. Yeah. Did you see the article recently that there was a lot of flooding from towns near those Indonesian nickel miners? So it looks like it's starting to happen.
Oh yeah, well, it happens. I saw it in Kalimantan when I was there in the VRIC days, right? So I choppered all over Kalimantan, and you see where the logging has stripped the forest has been stripped, and the rivers were all red because there's nothing to hold the rain back, and just washing the red soils into the rivers. So we're just cluttering up the rivers. And I saw the environmental damage for the mid-1990s when I was there. So, and I've seen some of the videos of what the Chinese are doing in Indonesia. And it's, whew.
Yeah. I feel bad for those people.
Yeah, I mean, it's destroying all this runoff. It's destroying all the beautiful scuba diving they had, and the coral reefs and everything. It's a bit of the Wild West there for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned nickel sulfide. Have you looked into Centaurus metals at all?
No, I don't know Centaurus. No. Okay. All right. I've my nickel name has been Premium Nickel. It's been just getting destroyed. But we'll see what happens there if they could turn it around. I hope they turn it around. They got a tremendous deposit. It's just been mismanaged. But I think they've replaced the CEO. So we'll see what they're able to accomplish here going forward. But that's one that I own a little bit of. I took a toehold position in it. I'm glad I did, because things have not turned out too well. But I'm watching it very, very closely. If they get things straightened around, it could be an interesting one, because you'll be buying definitely the bottom of the cycle, a super high quality asset that in the past is, I was around with Voisey's Bay, traded for $4.3 billion US. So I know the value of a good nickel sulfide deposit when things go well. So.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So nickel, MetCoal, and your thoughts on uranium. Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to wrap up with?
Well, I think the important thing here is I was just in the VRIC conference itself, and it's just standing room only on any of the presentations.
Oh.
And I was speaking with with a speaker, a friend of mine, and he was just shocked at the turnout here. It's been fabulous. And I mentioned to him, I said, I think it's awesome that we're getting such great turnout when the market is crappy.
Yeah.
It would be a great sell signal if the markets were booming and we had turnouts like this. But we're having turnouts like this at the bottom of the market, which I think is absolutely fantastic. That people are looking around, because when you take a look at the S&P 500, Bitcoin, the NASDAQ, valuations in those are a little bit stretched.
Yeah.
And the last time, the last big bull market from 2000-ish to 2010, that started when the NASDAQ broke, and the speculative money came from the NASDAQ and looked around, where can I find value?
Yeah.
And when those trades stop working, you have to think that people roll up this and say, wow, this mining sector looks super duper cheap. Let's get involved.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I hope you're right. I'm literally betting on it.
It could be, but I'm not. So happening to work.
We got a 5-10 year time frame. So
yeah, that's right. Well, it's already been 14 years of ugliness since the last time. So that's a long time. So we're due for a good rally. When it is, I'm not going to call it, but you got to think it's going to be coming soon. And when it does happen, it could be a good one.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Warren. Always a pleasure.
Great meeting you.
And we'll put all your links down in the show notes. Any last plugs?
No, I'm good, and I'm looking forward to getting back in there and seeing what you have to say.
All righty, right on. Well, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to support the show and share this with anyone that you think needs to hear it. probably your buddy. They can't stop talking about tech stocks. You have yourself a great rest of the day, and we will talk to you next time.